Welcome to the demo. The context is that I want to show you some code that I worked on for my final project in the linked data and solid course from the Uni Ghent. I chose to build something useful for the project FörderFunke that Vanessa, Ben and I will be doing from March on, funded by the Prototype Fund in Germany. We are building a mobile app that enables you to be found by relevant information instead of having to search for it. As a first use case, the app will proactively suggest state benefits users are eligible for. I will link to a slightly longer pitch and other resources in the video description. First, a slide about the tech setup. So this is our mobile app installed on a phone, and the user's profile as an RDF graph. Then we have a public repository that contains SHACL files, each of which represents the conditions for eligibility for a state benefit or a subsidy. Alongside this curated central big repository, we also want to support decentralized endpoints where these requirement profiles can be downloaded. The app will download all of them into the local context of the phone, and then the RDF graph gets validated by each of these SHACL files, and the output will be a report saying you're eligible for this and that amount of benefits, not eligible for this amount, and for others there's missing data, so I cannot give you an answer unless you give me more data. This is what it looks like, what I built over the last 2-3 weeks. It's not very pretty. It's really just experimental, so we will not necessarily even build on that code. It's just more like a discussion starter. So I would really like to hear your thoughts on it. It's also nothing users will get to see in that state. So let's start by creating a profile. I have local instance of a community solids server running. This is the solid project, and I have to authorize access. And now we have our first triple here in the user profile. We can also check this out with Penny. A viewer for solid pods, main profile, and here we see main person is of type citizen. Citizen knowledge graph is the namespace we use for developing. Let's run the eligibility checks. All the three eligibilities we're checking for have missing data, which makes sense because we have barely anything in our profile. We will look later how this looks like concrete. Let's add some data. Well, the big question is, of course, how do we name these data fields? What namespaces do we use? And we could just invent our own. This is a street address, this is a birthday, and so on. But instead of adding new ones, we would rather focus on trying to reuse existing standards to be interoperable and contribute to hopefully some harmonizing of vocabularies being used. That's why we chose for Germany to use the FIM data fields, because they are widespread in the German administrative context, the data fields that are being used here. And it's also a good basis if we later actually want to submit forms to the administration via Fit Connect. We already are using the correct standardized data fields. How are we going to access these data fields? The Fitco built this repository that has an API where I can access their 18,000 something data fields. So I can look for Wohnfläche, we will use later in the example, and get the results. And here I get a detailed page. As you can see here, we have a data type and a name, but we don't have constraints on this field. Interestingly enough, in the schemas, so schema is a bundle of data fields, there are constraints on data field. It would be nicer, of course, if they're directly attached to the data fields, but my workaround was basically just to show you quickly. I built a script that first downloads all the schemas. If there's more version per schema, the latest version, so the identifier. In a second step, from all of these, we're retrieving the schema JSON, and then in a third step, we're downloading all of these JSON schema, and we're looking for the constraints that are defined in there. So here, for instance, for the zip code, we can see that it needs to be exactly 5 characters long, and there's a regex pattern defined for how it is allowed to look like. And that's basically what I want to have, the constraint on these data fields, and I want to convert them to shackle. Let's just run this really quick. That last part creates a file here that I can use to inject into my results from the API, and it, for instance, here converts the age to type integer, and it has to be 1 at least. Yeah, I only did a very minimum amount, so here's a big to-do of including more into the conversion. I just wanted to basically go through the whole the steps necessary to make this happen. And this basically leads now to this effect that I can start typing here, the Wohnfläche, and this is yellow because in the background I'm injecting these constraints that I retrieved in the way that I just described. And now I'm adding the Wohnfläche. This is what happened in the data profile, in the user profile. So the main person has FIM. This is the FIM ID value of 80, and then here we're describing this predicate further. So this is a FIM data field property. It has a FIM ID, this one. The data fields of FIM don't have persistence URIs yet, so I kind of just invented them, or for now basically I used, if I use this, okay, because I think I need the version also. Yes, then I land at the page of that data field. Yes, there would be other ways to model this. So actually previously I had a different approach. Let me just copy this in here. I said the main person has a value, and then I created sort of an instance of this FIM data field that has a value attached. So that would be another way of modeling this, or even RDF star could be an option to use. So something like this is the triple, and then I add some information about the triple. Yeah, I would be really interested in if anyone has strong opinions, what's the right way of, what's a good way of modeling this. Sooner or later, we cannot rely anymore on this direct first level of attaching everything to the main person, but we will have something like the main person, the owner of this data profile owns a house, and then this house has properties attached, like the roof area, the age, and so on. Okay, I wanted to show you briefly how, yeah, I'm using this nice library here to generate a form field based on a shackle shape. So if I add now the Höhe der Miete, I would like to add, and I put in 0, I'm getting a warning. And this is not something I built, this comes from the library. So the library takes the shackle shape, actually we can see it here. The library takes this as an input, the constraints on this FIM field, and validates the content based on this. This is really nice. Okay. And I want the Wohnort to be Berlin. Yeah, so this is our data profile now. And I wanted to show you, yeah, this is for instance the part where I built the pseudo persistent FIM ID URI. Yeah, as a quick detour, in case, what we also want to support in the future is these profiles to be not just for a citizen, but also for a NGO or for a municipality that could make a profile. And then the municipality might have to put in something like Anzahl Schulen, and this field does not exist in FIM. And so here we get a suggestion. Do you want to create a new field in the citizen knowledge graph namespace? Which of course has the consequence that if you create a new data field in your profile, it's not in any requirement profile out there. Like, how would they know that you're describing the Anzahl Schulen in this way? So we're thinking that there would need to be some sort of consortium or a process of growing this namespace in a sensible way, because otherwise, yeah, it doesn't help when you put in the Anzahl Schulen, but no one uses it in the requirement profiles. What I also hinted at here is to use more, connect to more data field APIs than the FIM, the EU vocabulary one. That here, for instance, I searched for the Anzahl Schulen, which gives a lot of results, but they're not super helpful. So they don't seem tailored towards use as data fields, or I don't know yet where or how to look. So I'm also very happy for pointers here. Okay, now let's run the checks again, and we are definitely not eligible for a house insulation subsidy. Too bad. We are eligible for housing benefit, and solar panels has missing data. Now is the time to jump off a bit into the requirement profiles, which are now here in my repo, but they would basically be in this public repository for everyone to download, and this is public info anyway, right? What, under which condition you get these benefits, that's public knowledge. So the solar funding one, for instance, looks like this. We have some metadata that doesn't go into the validation itself, but helps describing what this is about. And then we have the shape, the shackle shape here, that demands that instances of citizen that use that we have to use the Wohnfläche FIM field, and it needs to be at least 50, otherwise we get this error message. And the Wohnort needs to be exactly Berlin. There is no wiggle room. The housing one contains shackle sparkle, actually, which gives us the freedom to do calculations across the user profile. So here we're actually calculating the rent per square meter by retrieving these two values and calculating this. This is really hot off the press, thanks to Thomas, who included this just recently into his shackle engine. The shackle sparkle is part of the shackle advanced features that have also a lot of other interesting things that we could use later on. Maybe there's some syntax to count things and to sum things up. So that's going to be very interesting to see what we can use there. Yeah, and as I said, these, instead of being here, they should be coming from this public curated repository or decentralized endpoints. And it would be great to actually also offer an RSS feed to subscribe to new or changed requirement profiles, or even ideally, of course, linked data event stream. That would be the appropriate way to do this. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but here it's actually the Wohnsitz needs to be Berlin and not the Wohnort that we entered. We have the Wohnort, which is a different ID than this, and I used this on purpose to show the aspect of inference. So as you can see, solar panels is actually not eligible. Even so, we would be, right? We had here we put in 80, and we do actually have Berlin. So what I need to do here is activate this little checkbox inference, and then we can see now we're eligible. And what happened here is that we described the Wohnort to be the same as the Wohnsitz. And this gets basically injected on the fly. We're materializing these triples in memory, so we're retrieving them here. And then we say if the main person uses this FIM predicate, the from, we insert the one with 2. So basically this leads to this being treated as the exact same. We will have to support more complex examples here also. So here I just sort of sketched an example of one county having 2 fields for the address of someone, namely one for the street name and one for the house number, and then another county describes this in 1, so it has this in 1. And for this we would need a rule, something like concatenate this, and then you can build this one out of these 2 basically. This would also be a work for the consortium or to even recommend a standard. So I would imagine these, the more data we manage to source for these requirement profiles, the longer this list gets. And then it's almost like little clusters of transforming rules, how you can transform one into the other, and then would always be, and this is the recommended default we would recommend, or the one we actually use if someone inserts this in their data profile. If anyone's interested, we're using the min count constraint component to check for missing data, by the way. And yeah, this part is really just the categories shown here. We built, Ben and I built another prototype that is in that regard more advanced. This is the same that you just saw, right? Eligible, non-eligible, missing data. But then you get actually missing data analysis. So it says if you add this one data point, the roof area of your house, I can actually run the check on these 2 requirement profiles and give you a yes/no answer. So it's kind of like the worth of your data, right? If you add these 2 data points, I can also run this extra one, and if something is not eligible, you get a more detailed answer. So on this part we worked in this prototype already. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any ideas, thoughts, comments, we would love to hear them. Thank you.